I went to college. I went and worked out 5 hours a day.
As I work out for about an hour.
And I was working on construction.
Between cardio, strength, and resistance training, stretching, maybe about an hour and 45 minutes.
Okay.
That's not too bad.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
I went to college. I worked out in the gym, and at night from 8 o'clock at night to 12 midnight, I went to acting class 4 times a week.
For a lot of that time, I was training like 6 hours a day because I had 2 different types of personal trainer.
5 hours a day, 6 hours a day.
One is Dr. Ornish's lifestyle trial. He did not address the point I brought out, how to explain why he had twice the number of fatal heart attacks, not cardiovascular hospitalization, but fatal heart attacks, in comparison to another recently published long-term intervention trial, the Lyon Diet Heart Study, that had 4 times as much fat, but on that arm, those following that diet eating more fruits and vegetables and eating more omega-3 fatty acids compared to control diet, they had 70% fewer fatal heart attacks.
When it starts to hurt badly and you want to quit, that's really when you shouldn't quit.
We were talking about 1 versus 2 deaths.
And they asked him, how many sit-ups do you do? And he said, I don't start counting until it hurts.
And in both deaths, Nova actually did a 1-hour documentary where they followed one of the people who died, and he died while greatly exceeding the exercise recommendation.
Now think about that. He doesn't start counting his sit-ups until he feels pain. That's when he starts counting.
He was on a rowing machine competing against a video game of other rowers, got his heart rate up way past what we told him to, and died while on the rowing machine. That's, what can you do? It wasn't following the program.
That is working hard. And so you can't get around the hard work. It doesn't matter who it is. Work your ass off.
And the other person who died had gotten off the program completely and died while on that.
We have 24 hours a day. We sleep 6 hours a day. So that gives you still 18 hours. So there's someone shaking their head out here in front to say probably, I don't sleep 6 hours, I sleep 8 hours, right?
I gotta get 8 hours, yeah.
Or just sleep faster.
You had down here in your paper in JAMA that you had, again, both people in the experimental program who were dying.
Now I've got it down to like an hour a day, 5 times a week.
Training at a gym for about an hour. 4 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, have my caffeine.
4 o'clock in the morning.
Then by 4:30, 4:45, I'm doing some sort of cardio. I do this, and then I'll have breakfast, and then I will go do all my strength and conditioning training at a gym for about an hour, and then I'll go to set.
I wake up at 3.
Every morning.
Every morning. I go downstairs, I work out for about an hour, and then I go to the golf course at 6 o'clock. I play till 8 o'clock.
So we have 18 hours a day. The average person works around 8 to 10 hours. So let's assume it's 10 hours, so we have 8 hours left. Then you travel around an hour a day, maybe 2 hours a day. So now you have still 6 hours left. So what do you do with the 6 hours? What do you do with the 6 hours? Then we eat a little bit, then we schmooze a little bit, talk a little bit to people and all that stuff. But you can see how much time there is available if you organize your day.
Wow.
And then I'm in bed by 7, and my wife thinks I'm an old, boring.
So you go to, my question was, what time do you go to bed if you get up at 3? You go to bed at 7?
Almost tripled the training time overall to achieve what I achieved on this job.
As I work out for about an hour.
It was pretty intense, and by the time, and then pumping, I kept pumping on set and training on set, working after work. So by the time I finished, I didn't want to step in a gym again for a while. And I pretty much managed a year. And then cardio, always a killer. Cardio, cardio, cardio. I hate it, but it's the one that makes the difference.
Well, basically train for 3 hours a day.
At some points, I was training 4 hours a day in the gym. I had 2 trainers, 2 separate trainers. I don't know what.
Each day was about 3 hours in the gym. It was pretty intense.
A couple hours a day, and it was brutal.
So now I've got it down to like an hour a day, 5 times a week.
For about an hour, and then I'll go to set.
You're working out pretty much the entire day for multiple days. So by the end of the sequence, I was exhausted.
How can you feel like $1 million when you're in shape, when you're always exhausted. Like, when you're always working out, you never feel what it's like to be, fully strong. I just always feel like, whoa, God, my chest feels like somebody, drove a truck over it.
3 hours a day.
So 2 hours in the morning and about 45 minutes in the afternoon.
Between cardio, strength, and resistance training, stretching, maybe about an hour and 45 minutes.
I work out pretty much every day. I've tried to change the routine. I'm always looking for new bodybuilding routines, and I have. So now I've got it down to like an hour a day, 5 times a week.
I actually got the diet from Dwayne, The Rock Johnson, who's a mate of mine. And every day what I do is I eat for 8 hours and I fast for 16. And so from about 10 in the morning till 6, for this I eat way too much, and then nothing after that.
I fast pretty much every day.
Are you doing 16 hours? What are you doing?
Depends. So when I split my time between New York and California. When I'm in New York, it's absolutely one meal a day, no ifs, ands, or buts, because it's just, the schedule is such that, so in New York, I eat one meal a day. So it's basically like a 22-hour fasting window, and then I'm feeding within a 2-hour window. Today has just been kind of a busy day. I won't eat till dinner tonight. But my short fast would be 16 hours, where I would eat.
That's a short fast.
That would be a short fast.
So we did it in phases. The first phase was 3 months of 7,000 calories a day and lots of weightlifting to get bigger. Phase 2 is less exciting because that's when they cut down the meals to kind of this size, and 6 meals a day and more cardio to kind of get rid of the fat. Wow.
And no fun, I bet.
No fun for 8 months.
Finishes with dehydration. Don't do this at home. It's really, you increase your water intake up to I'm trying to think what the gallons is, but you have about 10 liters of water, which is 3 gallons of water a day? A lot of water. And then you stop about 36 hours before you shoot. But because you've drunk so much water, you are peeing all the time.
That's a day and a half.
Right. So, yeah.
But if you go 3 days without water, you die.
Yeah, so you go as close as you can.
I think the structure of the diet all starts with whatever the goal is. The diet is structured, and it's probably somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 calories a day. That's very balanced of carbohydrates and fats and proteins and greens.
It's about 4,000 calories a day, and then it drops down, as I'm leaning up, drops down to about 3,500 calories. No alcohol, no sugar, pretty much nothing that's fun.
So you have to trade things that are fun, like alcohol consumption, meals at restaurants, things like that, for, long, arduous periods of time exercising and physically exhausting and grueling work. It's, I was capable of doing it. I think anybody could do it if they wanted to. But unless you had to, I don't see why you would want to.
Your fans are saying Chris Pratt eats no fat. Is that true?
No, I eat plenty of fat.
Yes.
Chris Pratt eats no sugar. That is more true.
Did it as healthy a way as possible. I mean, I met with 2 nutritionists first, so I found out how I could lose 3.5 pounds a week. So I gave myself whatever that is, 3-4 months. And I ate meals. I just ate small meals.
Like what? What did you eat?
5 ounces of fish, a cup of vegetables, a little something else 3 times a day, and I also had my red wine at night. I started off exercising really hard, going for 2-hour runs, burning lots of calories, and then I injured my ankle, so I couldn't do it for about 10 days. But I stayed on the diet, and I lost just as much weight, and I said, well, forget that, I'm not exercising anymore.
Is that it? You eat a little egg white in the morning, you eat 5 ounces of chicken at lunch and 5 ounces of beef in the evening, and, a couple of Diet Dr. Peppers in between. And man, do those taste good after 10 days.
Yeah. 5 ounces of fish, a cup of vegetables twice a day. Some pudding in the morning and as much red wine as I liked at night.
There is that element at the beginning where you actually do have to put down the Cheetos and the cheeseburgers, and you go, oh, here we go. But it's great. I don't know what kind of shape I would be in if I wasn't an actor, because I put these things in front of me, and whether it's learning to surf or learning to fight or getting your body in trim, it's a great thing to dangle in front of you.
Yeah, it is. But then, once the shoot is over, do you slack off and just terrible?
The worst. And every time I say, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to stay fit, I'm going to stay trim, and it go normally within 2 or 3 weeks.
So what was the hardest part of the training process then for you? Was there one thing that... Dieting. Okay, so it's not the exercise, it's the diet.
No, I like the exercise, and that part was really fun, but the dieting was horrible.
A meal would look like 2 chicken breasts, steamed broccoli,
So it's still
beans,
lean stuff.
and maybe some carbs.
You try and gain a little weight between films?
I try to do it, believe it or not. I overdo it on the weekends. During the week, it's almost all protein, and by the Friday night, I'm ravenous. And then I'll bulk up, and then by Monday, I'm back on the regime. That way, my body at least is appeased a little bit. But never bulk up full of it. I did it once in Fist, and I've never had a more difficult time in my life. Oof.
Taking it off.
Oh, boy.
How many calories a day are you taking?
Sometimes I'll be down to 1,100. Yeah, I'll be down to 1,100, and then on the weekend, I could be up to like 9,000. I mean, we're talking tons of French toast. We're talking about peanut butter in my hair. You know, it's like, yeah. There you go.
I feel good now. Overall, probably got 35% less energy.
It seemed like every time we had a meeting about the movie, we'd go to a restaurant, and these guys would all eat, and I would just sit there at menus. I would sit in restaurants smelling food, go to my favorite breakfast place, and just smell the pancakes.
I don't want to be doing this interview at a Pizza Hut buffet, you know? I choose to pick my places where there's less good smell.
And then cardio, always a killer. Cardio, cardio, cardio. I hate it, but it's the one that makes the difference.
There's a common misconception that you have to exercise to lose weight, and that's not the case.
It's 90% diet. It's 90% amount and then what you're eating. Because right now, I'm not losing any more weight if I burn 1,500 calories, 2 hours of cardio in an afternoon, or if I don't. It doesn't matter.
Diet might be the most important part of The Rock's lifestyle.
It's going to consist of 7 whole meals.
I started off exercising really hard, you know, going for 2-hour runs, burning lots of calories, and then I injured my ankle, so I couldn't do it for about 10 days. But I stayed on the diet and I lost just as much weight, and I said, well, forget that, I'm not exercising anymore.
But mostly it's all diet. What you eat is what you is.
I find, though, that I really don't have to talk about activity and stress management at first. I really just want control of your diet, okay? If you're exercising now, fine. If you're not, don't worry about it. When you're ready to exercise, let me know. Really, for weight loss and for metabolic change, the most important thing for me to have control of is your diet.
If you eat great, really great, Monday to Friday, from Saturday to Sunday, you can turn into the biggest hog in the universe, and you won't gain an ounce, and you get it all out of your system. So all you have to do is be good for like 4.5 days during the week.
My stomach has shrunk as well. So as much as I can't wait to have that cheeseburger on the day, it'll probably be damn hard to eat the whole thing.
Yeah. The secret is you can't do it in a month.
Thank you. I like that.
It takes 8 months, or a year, or a lifetime of consistency, working out every single day, and eating properly, and truly feeding yourself, not starving yourself, but giving yourself proper nutrition to heal. You have to burn off all the crap you've put in your body, and then you have to replace it with really good food and fuel. And it takes a long time. But really, 8 months is not that long. I mean, what were you doing in May, right?
Yeah,
that
exactly. That was
ago.
yesterday, right?
And when you're looking back, 8 months goes by really quickly. When you're looking forward, it seems like it's crazy. It's a long prospect. Even 8 hours can be a long time. But it just takes a little bit of consistency, and time is going to go by just as fast whether you're doing it or not. So who do you want to be 8 months from now?
By the way, you don't have to go on a low-calorie diet. You can go on a low-carbohydrate diet. And I thought, oh, how wonderful that is.
Gave myself 4 months to do it, lost 3 pounds a week. And it helped me. It helped sort of set a construct for me to focus and do the stuff I needed to do mentally and spiritually with the character. So it put me in a place where I was constantly researching, writing, and reading, because I sure as heck wasn't going out to the restaurant, or I wouldn't have any meetings out socially somewhere, you know. So it gave me a lot of time. It forced me to take the time I needed to take.
How much weight did you lose?
47.
47 pounds. That had to be painful. I mean, what does it feel like to lose that much weight? You were skin and bones. What did it feel like health-wise?
Needed 3 hours less sleep a night.
Less sleep.
Less sleep. Hyper sharp from here up, because you can't rely on anything from the neck down. You know, physically you lose leverage. So I got really sharp from here up, and you find out how much your body, how much we feed it, what it needs, and then some. I mean, it never got to a spot where it was dangerous as far as concerning me. I mean, you're reminded how resilient the human body is, and so you know it was a big transformation. But I felt fine. I had my soreness and stuff like that, but I felt fine.
Was it a cleanse?
It was a cleanse. Absolutely. I've said that before. It was a damn spiritual cleanse, man. Yeah. You're reminded how often you think about the next meal through the day, and how many times I catch myself standing in the fridge going, "Oh, that's right, not gonna have that." And so, and you don't go have meetings at your favorite steakhouse either. Yeah.
Was it all diet? Were you doing also exercise too as well? Like how
We're
did you...
doing cardio, but I'll tell you what, the more I've learned, it's 90% diet. It's 90% amount and then what you're eating. Because right now, I'm not losing any more weight if I burn 1,500 calories, 2 hours of cardio in an afternoon, or if I don't. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of how much I eat.
For 4 months, I was pretty hermetic. I mean, I stayed in, had controlled meals, didn't go outside and get sunshine because the guy needed to be pale as he was.
The first 10 days are much harder than after the first 10 days because it takes a while for your body to understand that it has to feed off of itself. You're not going to give it something else from the outside. Your body changes and says, okay, we get it. We're going south. We're not asking for more food anymore. We understand you're not giving it to us, so we're going to quit asking. And you just do it. But there's been the tough parts, there's been plateaus. Like getting past 170 was really hard. But then once you get into the 167, the next 7 come off easy. And past 150 was really hard. And then bam, got down to 143. And so once you get past the plateau, the body seems to understand, okay, this is where we're living now. This is where we are, and so the energy rises. That's me, that's 135 right there.
How did you lose all of that weight?
Not as much exercise as you think. It was just about diet.
So it's not just that starvation, a short-term adaptation to starvation is necessary. It's probably beneficial.
The guru of fasting is a weight loss system, Dr. Garfield Duncan. Back in the 60s, when fasting was in vogue, he described a dramatic decrease in hunger after the second day of a fast. He attributed this to high levels of ketones. In 1963, Walter Lyons Bloom, Gordon Azar in Atlanta discovered that the same degree of ketosis could be achieved simply by eating protein and fat-containing foods and eliminating carbohydrate. There was no need to fast. Instead of a fast, a meat and salad diet would do the trick.
During these short periods of deprivation of food, we get just a little bit more epinephrine and norepinephrine. We just get a little bit sharper, a little bit better.
So I went on a diet. It was very, very exciting. I not only lost a lot of weight, very easily, but I needed a lot less sleep. I used to need 8.5 hours sleep, and by the end of 2 months, I needed 5.5 hours sleep, which, by the way, for the last 40 years, that's about all I needed. So it really changed my energy level, and it changed a lot of things. And so I decided to put other people on it.
Mentally, extremely acute. Yeah. I mean, hyper-awareness.
Your brain ends up running on those ketones when it's in the absence of carbohydrates, and you essentially feel good and use fat for fuel.
Almost to a clinical sense. I wasn't easy to live with at that point because I was almost just scientific and clinical with my mind.
Now, this is interesting. Is it because of the change in diet or the weight loss? I know one affects the other, but what was the source of that?
I think it was the weight loss.
Weight loss, yeah.
Because not eating as much food, all your 5 senses just really get, they turn up the notch, they turn up the volume quite a bit. So all of my senses were extremely acute at that point. I needed 3 hours less sleep a night.
You might notice if you're on a low-carb diet or you're in ketosis that you have a hard time sleeping. So this is a problem that's plagued me for a long time.
But when I eliminated most of that stuff from my diet, I felt the exact same thing. I felt that midday nap desire go away.
A lot of people deal with poor sleep while they're on a very low-carb diet.
I kind of vaguely remember like 10 years ago when I was kind of like eating a normal diet, how I always had this lull in energy after lunch. Like there was the post-lunch, pre-dinner, I just don't feel good. Like, not that I feel bad, but like I'm not sharp. I'm not in my A game. And I don't even remember what that feels like anymore, which is not to say I feel great all the time, but I definitely don't have that vacillating energy level.
Carbs are known as comfort food for multiple reasons. One, they taste good and they might be some comfort.
Having this insulin spike and then this crash, and that's from carbohydrates. It's from refined carbohydrates.
But two, they literally do help you feel more comfortable by helping you produce serotonin.
And then just the fogginess about it. Like at the end of the day, you're like, oh God, I'm fucking tired. And then I'd have to drink a cup of coffee to get ramped back up again. And it's this like never ending cycle of.
But the other thing that you can do is consolidate your carbohydrates to the evening time. You see, when you're in ketosis, people have the common misconception that you don't have carbs come in at all. Well, the thing is, most people can still have between 30 and 60 grams of carbohydrates. What you want to do is allocate those to the evening time so you get a nice little insulin spike in the evening that allows the tryptophan from the protein you're consuming to enter into the brain and consequently help you relax, get that serotonin produced, and help you fall asleep and stay asleep.
Like, I spent 3 years in ketosis where it was actually one day. I was in ketosis for 3 years. Lots of fasting, but I think intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding, probably at least 5 years.
And for people listening, what are the benefits of that?
I think a lot of the benefits are overstated, and a lot of the benefits are things that we've only studied in animals. 16-hour fast in a mouse produces unbelievable results. So if you take a group of, certain types of mice or strains of rats or other rodents, and you, in a 24-hour period, deprive them of any nutrient for 16 hours, but then for 8 hours let them eat whatever the hell they want, they can't gain weight. So, and the reason we think is that once you give a long enough period of time when the animal can ramp up its the enzymes in the liver that are responsible for fat oxidation, they just basically become fat burn. I hate that term, fat burning machine. It's so overused, but they basically just become unbelievably efficient at metabolizing fat.
After a series of animal experiments, including the discovery that rats on a low-carbohydrate diet put out a fat-mobilizing substance which, when injected into other animals, caused an automatic weight loss, they directed their attention to obese humans.
We have to be careful, though, when we extrapolate that, because you and I have a very different metabolism than a mouse. Like, a 16-hour fast to a mouse is much longer than it is to us. So I don't know if those benefits would extend. Also, it's not entirely clear that time-restricted feeding will produce the longevity benefit that we see in other sort of fasting or fasting-mimicking types of diets. So for me, what it comes down to is, honestly, it's just an easier way. It gives me a much more liberty with what I eat during my feeding window. I don't have to be nearly as restrictive when I'm feeding if I have that period off. It just in terms of like my physiologic response. Secondly, there's a convenience thing. Like, I kind of hate being tethered to eat. I like knowing that, hey, if I get into a pinch, like, I don't have to eat right now. If I'm sitting on the airplane and they're serving dog shit, I don't have to eat. I can wait another 5 hours until I eat. I also just feel much more steady in my energy levels.
But when I eliminated most carbs from my diet, and I have a friend of mine who talked to his trainer about that. His trainer's like, you're crazy, eat bread, eat pasta, don't listen to him. I'm like, no, don't listen to him.
I think the number one thing that a lot of people, for whatever reason, become adverse to, carbs are your friend. I like the way you think. Come on. Carbs are good carbs.
If you want to eat carbohydrates, get it from fruits. Get it from some natural sources. But just, if you have a trainer that's telling you to eat bread, get a new fucking trainer.
But aren't you like, I just want to eat a pizza?
No, this is true. But then I found out you can eat that pizza as long as you have like maybe 3 or 4 other meals that's super clean. You can have that cheat meal. And I think that's the misconception sometimes of diets and being healthy, that you can eat what you want, just within moderation.
It's a cheat day, not a cheat meal.
A day.
A day. That
Break it
includes, I'm going to break it down for you, Roxy. It includes at least a dozen pancakes.
It's nothing wrong with eating it if you want to occasionally and in small doses.
A stack of pancakes, not 13 pizzas, but 4 pizzas.
Okay.
4 pizzas. Nobody can do 13 pizzas. 4 pizzas. 2 dozen brownies. 2 dozen brownies, and dominate everything.
How many calories a day are you taking?
Sometimes I'll be down to 1,100. Yeah, I'll be down to 1,100, and then on the weekend I could be up to like 9,000. We're talking tons of French toast. We're talking about peanut butter in my hair. It's like, yeah. There you go.
More weight is lost on low-carbohydrate diets than on balanced diets identical in calories. This benefit is called metabolic advantage. 2 groundbreaking studies were published in '56. First, they studied 1,000-calorie diets. But it was a research study that they had done on rats, and this is what they did. There were diets 90% fat, 90% protein, 90% carbohydrate. They wanted to see the effect. 1,000 calories of 90% carbohydrate produced no weight loss. As a matter of fact, there was a slight weight gain. The 90% protein diet produced a weight loss between 3.5 and 4 pounds in the week that people followed it. The 90% fat diet did even better. Between 5 and 6 pounds of weight were lost. And that is a dramatic portrayal of how different foods can lead to different amounts of weight loss. But of course, these were all 1,000 calorie diets, and they wanted to look at diets with sufficient calories not to provide guaranteed weight loss. For an average of 8 days, 6 subjects were alternated between a 2,000 calorie balanced diet and a 2,600 low carbohydrate diet. The 2,000 calorie balanced diet led to a 1 pound weight gain, as you see on this slide, whereas the 2,600 calorie low carbohydrate diet given to this very same subjects, it was a crossover study, produced a 3 pound weight loss in the same amount of time. And Kekwik and Pawan did water balance studies, and it wasn't water. That means they demonstrated for the first time a phenomenon called metabolic advantage, a refutation of the calorie theory where diets of different compositions lead to disproportionate weight loss. Kekwik and Pawan, despite their important academic position, were met with skepticism. But 9 years later, Dr. Fred Benoit and his colleagues at Oakland Naval Hospital furthered the concept. Their technology allowed them to measure body fat. And this is what they found. They compared a total fast, which certainly was in vogue in those days, with a 1,000 calorie, 10 gram, very low carbohydrate diet for 10 days. They found that the fasting took off 21 pounds, but only 7.5 of those pounds were fat. The other 14 were lean body mass. The low carbohydrate diet, despite the extra 1,000 calories, took off 14.5 pounds, all but 1/2 pound of which was fat. Virtually none was lean body mass. Again, it met with skepticism, but it was quite logical. In starvation, you will start to burn your protein for fuel, but when ample fat and protein are included in the diet, there will be no need to do so. More skepticism and more studies. This time, the professor of medical nutrition at Cornell, Dr. Charlotte Young, studied 8 obese 23-year-old men, undergraduates at Cornell and graduate students at Cornell. They were all overweight, and she used an 1,800 calorie diet. May I see the next? An 1,800 calorie diet of differing amounts of carbohydrate. One was 104, moderately low, one was 60, even lower, and the other was 30 grams of carbohydrate a day. She also did body fat estimations. This is how much body fat they lost. 2 pounds a week for the 9 weeks on the 104-gram diet, 2.5 pounds a week on the 60-gram diet, and 3.6 pounds per week on the 30-gram diet. This means that cutting down from 60 to 30 grams, from low to even lower, without cutting calories, led to an extra 10.5 pounds of fat being lost in the 9 weeks of the study.
I'm Dr. Eric Westman, and I'd like to teach you how to do the no sugar, no starch diet today. When you have sugar and starch in the diet, it raises the blood sugar, and then insulin goes up in the blood. And as a result, insulin tells your body to make fat and store fat. To look at the diet in another way, though, it really just consists of real food, okay? So we're getting rid of all the fake foods, the junk foods that have been in the marketplace for so long. So real food, meaning meat, fish, cheese, eggs, salads, and vegetables. And I want you to keep your carb content to about 20 grams of carbs for the whole day. And if you've never counted carb grams, a slice of bread has about 20 grams, or maybe 10 grams of carbs. And then an apple the size of my fist has 20 grams of carbs. So that's why at first those are not on the eating list, okay? So we have to avoid sugar, bread, fruit, flour, pasta, really any other sugary, starchy foods that has a high carb content, okay? Now the way this works is that your hunger will go away, so that you won't feel the need to eat so much. So you'll be eating less, not because I tell you to eat less. I never talk about calories or portion sizes. And what happens is your hunger goes down and you just start eating less. And that's how you lose the weight or fix the diabetes or other metabolic problem that you have, okay? Some people have side effects the first few days or the first week. You might notice cravings for foods that you're not eating, cravings for the sugar or the fruit or the things you're not eating. No problem, the cravings will go away. And by the next week, the cravings should be gone. During this next week though, if you're having some fatigue, some lightheadedness, that sort of thing, what I want you to do is to drink bouillon, which is a salt substitute. I know this is the first violation of what you've been taught that I'm going to make, okay? I want you to have salt when you're not eating carbs, especially during the first week if you're not feeling well. And the reason for that is there are fluid shifts that happen during the first week, and that can be very helpful. Drinking plenty of fluid is another way to minimize the side effects that you might get the first week. Sugar craving. Cravings will pass, but you can have a sugar-free beverage or sugar-free Jell-O, something like that, for the sugar cravings. You can treat the sugar cravings with those things. Probably the most popular sweet treat is the sugar-free Jell-O with whipped cream on it. So you can take some whipped cream, put that on your sugar-free Jell-O, and that will take the cravings away. Real whipped cream, that's right.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not suffering, right?
No, it's not.
What happens if I slip? Well, this is a very metabolic diet. In fact, I'm taking you from carb burning, because you've been eating carbs, to fat burning. Because when you don't eat carbs, your body has to burn fat. And what happens if you're in a fat burning mode and you eat carbs is that your body stops burning the fat, goes back to burning the carbs, and so you may block the fat burning for 2 or 3 days if you slip and have some carbs. So what that means is I've had people coming back saying, well, I'm doing really well, but I'm having carbs on Monday and Friday. Well, this won't work, okay? You have to be very strict to limiting the carbs every day, because I'm taking you from carb burning to fat burning, okay? Another way to think of it is that we really just burn what we eat. The humans are very flexible and adaptable, so if you're eating carbs, you'll burn them. If you're eating fat, you'll burn them. What this diet does is takes away the carbs out of the equation, so your body has to burn fat. It's forced to do that. It's very happy to do that. In fact, it starts looking around and saying, I have fat right here. So that's why you're not hungry. It's because you're burning your own body fat. Okay? So that's pretty neat. This is a diet that really maximizes your body's ability to burn fat. Okay? Even one step further, the fat you eat now is being handled differently than before. It's handled in a way that you burn the fat that you eat. You're not storing it like you used to be if you were eating carbs and fat and you were in a carb burning mode. Okay. The second violation of what you've been taught is I want you to eat fat, because you're handling the fat differently. In fact, eating fat helps you burn fat, because it revs up the enzymes that have to do with fat burning in your body. It may not make sense at first, but I'll remind you in the clinic that I want you to eat fat, and I want you to have salt. Okay. I do want you to have a multivitamin, like Centrum Silver or its generic equivalent. If you're not a menstruating female, you don't need iron in the vitamins, so please use an iron-free multivitamin, and I'm happy to check the vitamin if you bring it into the clinic. Fish oil is helpful for maximizing fat burning, and especially helpful if you have high triglycerides in the blood, but that's optional. If you want to do this without the fish oil, that's just fine. Okay. Turn the page to page 3. So many people ask about their blood cholesterol levels. We'll check it before and after, and what the research has shown is that the prediction of the cholesterol getting worse in everybody is wrong. It was just wrong. So most of the time the cholesterol gets better. In fact, the triglycerides and HDL cholesterol, the new way of looking at the blood panel, gets better almost all the time. So the good cholesterol will go up using this kind of diet more than anything else we know about. And that's really important for minimizing the heart disease risk. Okay, a lot of research to support that now. You're going to notice better energy levels, better appetite control, lots of things. If you're a diabetic, you can expect better blood sugar control. If you're taking insulin, I need to reduce that in half. So I need to reduce it by 50% on the first day you start this diet. If you're taking insulin and you drop the carbs that you eat and you don't adjust the insulin level, your blood sugar will fall, and it may go down to dangerously low levels. So that's why if you're taking diabetes medicines, you need to do this with a physician who understands how to do this. Okay. I find though that I really don't have to talk about activity and stress management at first. I really just want control of your diet. Okay. If you're exercising now, fine. If you're not, don't worry about it. When you're ready to exercise, let me know. Really for weight loss and for metabolic change, the most important thing for me to have control of is your diet. There's a common misconception that you have to exercise to lose weight, and that's not the case. But beginning at the top, remember, I want you to stay under 20 grams of carbs per day, and I don't care how you cook the foods. There are a lot of misconceptions about if it's fried, it must be bad, or if it's baked, it must be good. No, all I care about is whether there are carbs with the food. So if there's breading that has carbs in it, that's not good. It's okay that it's fried. A lot of people like to fry chicken in a combination of crushed pork skins with egg. And because that has no carbs, you can fry chicken there and it becomes crispy and tasty. So all that matters is whether there are carbs on the food or not. How you prepare it doesn't matter to me. Okay? Now when you're hungry, I want you to eat your choice as much as you want from these foods because they have no carbs. Okay? So that's the meat, poultry, fish and shellfish, and eggs. You don't have to avoid the fat that comes with the foods, and you don't have to deliberately limit the quantities of these foods. But you should stop eating when you start feeling full. Okay? So let me just go through these foods more specifically. For meat, I mean beef, hamburgers, steak. I still remember this Christmas prime rib that I had with an inch of fat around the edge, and you can have that if you like it. It's delicious, and it helps you burn fat. Remember, eating fat helps you burn fat. Pork, ham, bacon, these are all fine. Lamb, veal, and other meats. Processed meats like sausage, pepperoni, hot dogs are fine. Just want to make sure the carb content is less or about 1 gram per serving. Bacon really, just about makes everything taste better. Isn't that true? And there's a lot of unnecessary fear about eating bacon. I think that comes from the notion that eating fat is bad. Poultry, chicken, turkey, duck. I have a college professor who goes out and buys pheasant and has that with his wife. I have another college professor who's divorced and doesn't own a pot and drives through the fast food in the morning and fast food at lunch and fast food at dinner, and as long as he's not eating carbs, that's just fine. So it doesn't matter how you implement it. The science says just watch the carbs. Okay? Fish, shellfish are fine. Tuna can be in a can. It can be fresh, frozen. It can be flown in from the beach an hour ago after being caught. I don't care. All right, that's all kind of gimmicky stuff. All I care about from the science side of things is whether there are carbohydrates in it or not. Don't forget shrimp, scallops, crab, and lobster have no carbs. Okay. Eggs, whole eggs are permitted without restrictions. I think eggs are the perfect food nutritionally. So eggs are fine. Boiled eggs come in handy for snacks throughout the day. I do want you to have 2 cups of salad greens and 1 cup of a non-starchy veggie for the day. 2 cups is roughly 2 fistfuls, and you'll see me in the clinic say 2 fistfuls of leafy greens, or 2 cupfuls, and then 1 cupful or 1 fistful of the non-starchy veggie. Okay? You can go home and take your measuring cup and compare it to your fist, and then throw out the measuring cup, because I don't want you to have to be that precise. And fortunately, these are so low in the carbs on this list that there's a little wiggle room on it. But that's the target. I want 2 cups, not too much more, not too much less, of the leafy greens, and 1 cup of the non-starchy veggies. So the salad greens or leafy greens include arugula, bok choy, cabbage, chard, chives, endive, beet greens, collard greens, mustard greens, turnip greens, kale, lettuce, parsley, spinach, radicchio greens, radishes, scallions, and watercress. Basically, if it's a leaf, you can eat it. For the non-starchy veggies, I want you to focus on just these, okay? Artichokes, asparagus, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, celery, cucumber, eggplant, green beans, jicama, leeks, mushrooms, okra, onions, peppers, pumpkin, shallots, snow peas, sprouts, sugar snap peas, summer squash, tomatoes, rhubarb, wax beans, and zucchini. So there's a lot to choose from, right? Well, where's my fruit, right? I've been told I have to have fruit every day. It's not true. Fruit is actually very sugary and will stop the weight loss using a low carb approach very quickly. So you have to be very careful about the amount of fruit, if any. I prefer you not have any. You can have the foods down at the bottom in limited quantities. Cheese up to 4 ounces a day, cream up to 2 tablespoons a day. A moment about dairy, milk has sugar in it. It's called lactose. And so that's why milk is off limits now. But you can have heavy cream. You can have Coffee Mate or those kinds of things, but you got to watch the carb content. Usually that's about 1 gram per serving. But you know, the Coffee Mate doesn't fit the real food definition. So optimally, I'd like you to have the real cream, but in a pinch, sometimes at the workplace and all, you'll just have Coffee Mate available. That's pretty low in carbs. Mayonnaise up to 2 tablespoons a day. Olives 6 a day. Avocado 1/2 a fruit a day. Lemon lime juice 2 teaspoons a day. Soy sauce 2 tablespoons. Pickles, dill or sugar-free, up to 2 a day. Avocados and lemon lime juice are great for making guacamole, or if you're out at a restaurant having guacamole. And at the bottom, snacks can include pork rinds and skins. They have no carbs in them at all. Pepperoni slices, ham, beef, turkey. A roll-up is the colloquial term for when you take a piece of cheese or string cheese, roll it up in a piece of meat and eat that. It's very quick. If you tell me you only have 30 seconds to eat in the morning, no problem. Make a couple roll-ups and you'll be good to go for the rest of the morning. The primary restriction of this diet is carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are sugars and starches, or otherwise known as simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. And I've listed out the sugars and simple carbohydrates. They are white sugar, brown sugar, honey, maple syrup, molasses, corn syrup, beer, milk, flavored yogurts, fruit juice, and fruit. So those are off limits. And then starches are complex carbohydrates, so they get digested to the simple sugars, so it's just like having sugar. So you have to avoid grains, even whole grains, rice, cereals, flour, cornstarch, breads, pasta, muffins, bagels, crackers, starchy vegetables like slow-cooked beans, pinto beans, lima beans, black beans, carrots, parsnips, corn, peas, potatoes, french fries, and potato chips. Okay. Fats and oils are in. Carbs are out. Fats and oils are in because they have no carbs, essentially. They don't raise the blood sugar, don't spike the insulin level, and that's that insulin level that makes our body make fat and store fat that we're trying to avoid. So any fat and oil is fine as long as it's natural. Even butter is fine. For salad dressings, that means things like oil and vinegar, blue cheese, ranch, Caesar, Italian, these are all fine. Watch out for the light dressings because these commonly have more carbohydrates. The industry uses the term light to mean low in fat, and then they added carbohydrates back generally to make it palatable. A Cobb salad is a good choice because generally there's chopped eggs, bacon, and grated cheese that is also involved with that salad. You can have sweet things, just not things sweetened with sugar. So any of these other sweeteners are fine, like Splenda, NutraSweet, Truvia, Sweet and Low. Watch out for the sugar alcohols though, because they can cause stomach upset and gas. Likewise with sugar-free gum, just be very careful. Usually the sugar-free gum has about 1 or 2 grams of carbs in it. So you don't want to be using these frequently throughout the day. So there's really no magic number of drinks to have for the day. Really just let thirst be your guide. And we do allow caffeine up to 3 servings a day, roughly. There's a lot of wiggle room there, and it's very individual. So most people can have coffee and other diet sodas as much as they want. Others can't. So just try it, and we'll go from there. I'm teaching you the strictest version to get you on the right path, and then we need to find how your body responds. Okay? Some people can eat more carbs than others, depending on their age, their gender, their exercise activity level, and other. So we'll find your individual level. Okay? Does anyone drink alcohol? So at first, I'd say please stay away from the alcohol. Every program like this works better if you don't drink alcohol. But if you must, there are some ways to drink low-carb beverages, and ask me about that in the clinic. Okay? So there's no caloric limit. Listening to your body, and if you start feeling full, stop. Okay? So you don't have to eat everything on your plate. Okay? Many of us were raised with that. In fact, I was raised with the notion that I had to eat everything on my plate even though I was full. Right? You may have had that experience too. Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to eat everything on your plate now, okay? Maybe when you were a child, but not anymore, okay? At restaurants these days, I'm given about twice as much as I can comfortably eat. So I take home the rest with me and have it the next day. The following items are not on the diet. They're not on page 4. Sugar, bread, cereal, flour-containing items, fruits, juices, honey, whole or skimmed milk, yogurt, canned soups, dairy substitutes, ketchup, sweet condiments, and relishes. Well, that said, there is a low-carb ketchup that some of my patients have found that is 1 gram per serving. So if you're missing ketchup, there are also some ones you can make on your own that are very low in carbs. I'll show you about that. Watch out for these common mistakes. Fat-free or light diet products. What happened there is they cut out the fats and they added sugars. Coleslaw at just about every restaurant and fast food place, they add sugar to it. So watch out. Sugar-free cookies and cakes just aren't low enough in carbs. So sugar-free does not mean carb-free. Okay. Watch the labels, and I'll teach you how to do that in just a moment. Here are some books and cookbooks and websites that I recommend. The most popular website for my patients for recipes is Linda's Low Carb Menus and Recipes. That's http://genaw.com/low-carb/. The recipe for make your own ketchup that tastes even better than the Heinz one is at Linda's Low Carb.